Welcome not only to Macintosh, but also to another UXW Bill video. Hello there everyone. Today I'm actually revisiting a little something that I've talked about on two occasions in the past. Firing up the old Macintosh Performa 6400 180, 180 megahertz PowerPC 603 microprocessor in this machine, 13-inch, maybe this is a 12-inch, Apple Trinitron color display. Very nice monitor. Even all of these years later, it just has an absolutely exceptional picture that a lot of even modern pieces of equipment, despite their greater resolution, would be hard-pressed to duplicate. This is close to one of the best CRT monitors you will ever see. But I did not bring you this video today to talk about CRT monitors or even old Macintoshes. Instead, just as soon as we get past this machine's little introduction screen, I will show you what I'm talking about today. I'm actually making this update video not just to talk about the software in question, but also to make it available for download, because I know that many of you have been looking for it over the years, and I thought that you might finally like to know that I have made some progress on making the software in question available for download. What is that software? Well, for those of you who remember back this far, you will undoubtedly remember the time I made a video featuring the Buick Dimensions software, the 1990 edition for Macintosh. I never knew that such a thing existed until I found it in a disk box that was being thrown out at work. Well, unfortunately, the disk has long ago vanished, and my Macintosh SE30 is extremely temperamental, and as such, I never did get around to doing anything productive with trying to rescue the software or even giving that machine a recap or anything along those lines. But I did have a stroke of luck looking through the comments in that video tonight when I saw that someone mentioned a site known as the Buick Garden. Might have that software available. So I went out there and I looked, and sure enough, they have it for several years. Well, I found versions from 1986 all the way up to 1991. Unfortunately, something is wrong with the disk image for the 1991 edition, and I have not so far been able to use it. Now, one thing that I do get a lot of commentary about are the floppy disks, the presence of floppy disks in my videos. And yes, I'm going off on a bit of a sidebar here, but I hope you will forgive my doing that, because it seems that, oh my goodness, there are a lot of people from the inquisitive to the downright rude. They wonder about floppy drives. They think I'm an idiot for keeping floppy disks around. Well, let me just tell you something. When you've got a computer like this with a floppy disk drive, and you want to get things off of the internet and bring them to a computer such as this, running an operating system that existed before web browsers were commonplace, and you don't have a network connection going to this machine, well, the only common denominator that you have left are indeed the floppy diskettes. So that's why I still keep them around, and that's why I still make the mostly intended to be humorous comment that real computers do in fact have floppy drives. In addition to apprising you of the fact that I am planning to make this Buick Dimensions 1990 software available for download, I also wanted to demonstrate how it behaves on a color Macintosh. You see, many years ago, before the basement flood of 2004, I had that program running on all my Macintoshes because I was curious as to how it would behave. And I remember that it crashed almost instantly on some of them it would even take the whole machine down, but on a similarly equipped Macintosh Performa, or a Power Macintosh 6500, I forget exactly which, the program did run under Mac OS 9.2.2, and it was stable, but it was clearly designed, or at least it behaved as though it was designed, to run on a monochrome computer only. Now, there were certainly color Macintoshes back in 1990, but most people were not buying them. I think it's fair to say that most people were probably buying the good old Macintosh classics, the SE30, the Classic 2, any of those things that happened to exist at the time. I don't know exactly which classic Macintoshes were still on the market at the time, but hopefully it's close enough for the sake of discussion. Anyway, I ran the program just now on this machine, and I discovered that although it plays without sound, and it is a little bit crash happy on Mac OS 7.5.3, it actually renders with the proper colors. So I don't know how to explain that. unless there's something different enough about macOS 922 that made the program behave incorrectly. But if we go ahead and look here, you'd see that usually the cars were colored in completely strange ways. And I actually have a Macintosh up here that's a little bit of a higher up model, but slower clock speed, running a later operating system. I may try to get the software on there just to see exactly what it might do. Now, some of these things you can tour these cars, like the Riata. You can go look at the Riata. That Riata is actually red. I don't know that it was intended to be that color. That's the defect I'm talking about right there. And there the program just crashed. Isn't that lovely? It was not that crash happy under a new version of macOS 9. So let's go ahead and go back into the showroom. Some of the cars crash the thing immediately, like if you choose the Century. Albeit it didn't do it then, but look at the color on that car. Clearly they did not intend for this to be utilized by people with color displays. And there it crashed again. As much as I like American cars, I think that if I were running this program on a color Macintosh and I found it to be this poorly behaved, well, I'd probably look at buying a different kind of car. Yep, can't even look at the Skylark. Oh man, so much fun. At least the 1990 Dimensions program will generally run, although it's got some character along the way. Take a look at that. That's a very strange color. And there's another crash. It's a lot better than what the 1988 program manages to do. Oh, it's very badly behaved. If I go ahead and run this, the only way that we're going to get out of it is through a warm boot. I'll have to actually issue the 3-finger salute, the good old Open Apple Control and Power key to regain control. You do get a little bit further if you go into the control panel and you set the monitor back to its 8-bit, no, I'm sorry, not 8-bit, 2-bit color setting. If you switch things back to black and white, the program will at least run, but it still doesn't run any semblance of correctly. It tries. There's a Buick going down the road, a Riata coming up to visit us, and it says click the mouse to continue, but the mouse doesn't actually move. And then the Finder starts showing through in the background. So yeah, this program definitely has some problems. I don't know if the concept of the multiple applications Finder, which was a given in later Macintosh systems after System 6, I believe, I don't know if that's what's messing it up. But if you try to force quit the program, it's obvious that the Buick program doesn't have focus. And even if you do get back to the Finder and you try to do something like restarting the computer, well, the Buick program shuts down, but it doesn't. See, now it's got focus, but it doesn't really work the way it's supposed to. I may have to get the Macintosh Classic up here to go ahead and do this. But there we go. Click the mouse to continue, and yeah, the system's kind of messed up. Let's see if maybe switching back to colors. Well, there we go. It actually recovered that time. Wasn't so fortunate the last time. Well, since I didn't manage to break it just yet, although I think the program is still running because it still has an icon to indicate that it's open, well, I think if we try to open this up again, you'll see that it's, well, everything kind of turns to custard. Program doesn't run at all properly, and now it has most definitely managed to take the system with it. So, guess what? It's time for the amazing 3-finger salute, or as my brothers and I used to refer to it, Whomping the Macintosh. Why did we call it that, or Whomping the Macintosh? Well, we called it that because these machines actually have a big old subwoofer in them. Now, when you don't have an external set of speakers plugged in, as I do right now, this subwoofer in the bottom of this computer actually becomes a full-range speaker. There's a low-pass filter on it that's removed when another set of speakers is connected. And of course, I do have the original Apple speakers for this. I found a couple other versions of the Buick software dating all the way back to 1986 or 87 on the Macintosh Garden website. I have not tried running those, and I think one of them is a 400 kilobyte floppy image. I have been writing these disk images so far with the floppy drive in a Dell Dimension E521 using HFV Explorer software. I don't know that that trick will work for a 400 kilobyte Macintosh floppy, because if I'm remembering things correctly, those disks actually use a variable spin speed. But I could be in for a surprise. I was in for quite a surprise when I wrote the images, wrote the disk images that were in the 800 kilobyte format out to floppy diskette and put them in this machine, even though I made no attempt whatsoever to disguise the high-density identifying hole on the disk, on either the machine that wrote it or this Macintosh, and it still actually worked. I was completely shocked by that. Well, this has turned into an 11-minute video now, so I think it's probably well past time to wrap it up, but I thought for those of you who remembered my adventures in the vintage Macintosh and Buick Dimensions software realm, that you might like to know that at least the 1990 program will be made available by me. I will provide a link down in the video description, and I will provide links to the files on the Macintosh Garden website as well. So thank you for listening to this very rambling video. Thank you for watching, as always, and of course, if you have a comment, by all means, feel free to leave it.